Hey guys, I made stickers and they came out kind of good, so if you want a sticker, check out the link in the description below. Alright guys, Twisted Nightmares comes out in 1 week alongside Match and Millennium, and I really think that there are quite a few cards out there that are going to shake up the meta. I don't think all the cards are relevant, but I noticed that there really wasn't anything out there right now that kind of broke it down in a very, very short time frame. So what I'm going to try and do for you guys is I'm going to give you basically everything you need to know about Twisted Nightmares here in about 12 minutes. So here we go. Twisted Nightmares is a Bakura and Merrick deck essentially structured around Dark Monsters, Fiend, and Machine. The decks play very well around Burn and Fiend monsters. Here's an example of Dark Necrofear coming out. This can't be normal summon or set. This is a level 8-star monster with 2800 defense. That's so mighty. 2200 attack, but can't be normal summon set. Must be special summoned by your hand by banishing 3 Fiend monsters from your graveyard. Okay, so this is encouraging you to play more Fiends that are in the structure deck. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was destroyed in your monster zone by an opponent's card and sent there this turn, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, equip this card to that target. While this card is equipped to that monster by this effect, you take control of that monster. So Dark Necrofear helps you get a huge monster on your opponent's side of the field, tour your side, and turn the tables there. So you can see it playing around a lot of the meta decks here that are out there now, like Moth, Oracle, things like that. And it encourages you to play Fiends. So there are a lot of Fiends that come with this deck, 4 through 6 star pretty much. You see the Earl of Demise. There's a lot of normal monsters. Earl of Demise is 2000 attack, 5 star, which is pretty good. My personal favorite is Headless Knight. I remember seeing Headless Knight a lot when I was a kid. So a lot of Fiends here that are trying to synergize with that deck. Gap the Defiant Soldier is a level 6-star monster with 2200 attack. All monsters are changed to face-up attack position when this is summoned. Also, their battle positions cannot be changed, so flip effects are not activated. So this calls out your Man-Eater bugs, essentially. Once per turn, you can reveal any number of Fiend-type monsters in your hand. This card gains 300 attack for each until the end phase. So that's okay. You might not have too many Fiend-type monsters in your hand, but the flipping up and not activating Man-Eater bug is pretty good. So there's Gap the Defiant Soldier here, going to shake that up. A lot of these cards are also focused around negating the effects of monsters destroyed by battle with your cards. For example, Dark Ruler Hades does that. That's a 6-star 2450 attack. Negate the effects of monsters destroyed by battle with Fiend-type monsters you control while it's on the field. So this is important because it shuts down Gravekeeper's Recruiter right off the bat is a good example. Gravekeeper's Recruiter allows you to search from the grave. This doesn't let it happen. It's essentially the only other card we had in the format before this was like Element Saurus when an Earth monster was on the field. But there are a lot of cards coming out here that are going to start negating the effects of monsters destroyed by battle. Another good set of cards similar to this are the Dark Luciuses. Dark Lucius level 4, level 6, and level 8. The effects of your opponent's monsters that those cards destroy by battle are negated. So there's another example of it shutting down cards that activate in grave, trying to get searches out. You think of the little buggos that'll get you Parasite Paranoid, and you think of Gravekeeper's Recruiter. That's going to shut that down. Dark Lucius is a level 4, 6, and 8 card that have requirements to be satisfied by destroying your opponent's monsters in order to get the next one out, but also level up is in this structure deck, so you can kind of bypass that as well. And they get pretty scary. Dark Lucius level 4 starts at 1000 attack, level 6, 1700, which is okay, but then Dark Lucius level 8, that's 2800 attack, which is pretty huge, so you gotta be careful about that. Not sure how well those cards will come out. I don't know if the game's gonna go long enough for you to get a full Dark Lucius level 8 unless you utilize level up, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Twin-Headed Wolf, that's another Fiend card here, Dark Monster level 4. When there's another face-up Fiend-type monster on your side of the field, you negate the effect of flip effect monsters destroyed by this card as a result of battle. So maybe you have a Fiend monster on the field already, your opponent has a set, it might be a Man-Eater bug. You summon Twin-Headed Wolf, and all of a sudden you catch your opponent off guard, you're able to plow through that without Man-Eater bug flipping and destroying one of your monsters. So Twin-Headed Wolf is a good Fiend as well. There are some effect Fiends here that seem okay, but I really don't know how viable they're going to be. Like one that kind of caught my eye was Prometheus, King of Shadows. This card is normal summoned, banish one or more dark monsters from your graveyard, and if you do, this card gains 400 attack for each until the end of this turn. So that really depends on how long the game's going, right? And how many monsters, Fiend monsters, you're filling into your graveyard. Or dark monsters, I'm sorry. The deck gives you a lot of opportunities to put dark monsters in your graveyard, and actually this is kind of the first set here that is really normalizing banishing. This deck does have Common Charity again. It also has Allure of Darkness, which is draw 2 cards and banish 1 dark monster from your hand, or if you don't have any, send your entire hand to the graveyard. So that's a spell card. That's essentially Common Charity. There are also a couple monsters in these new structure decks that focus around getting piercing damage, which is great. Really, the only piercer we saw is dinosaurs, like Dark Triceratops, for example. A couple monsters that give piercing. Lancer Archfiend is a fiend. Once per turn, monster you control declares an attack targeting a defense position monster your opponent controls. You can activate this effect, and the difference becomes piercing. So there's a good one. Lancer Archfiend's only 1600 attack, but hey, that's pretty strong against maybe a set, Man-Eater, Yomi Ship, and potentially some of the other sets that you might see coming from this structure. Another good piercer that this structure deck deck is introducing is Mephis the Infernal General, which is when this card attacks with an attack that is higher than the defense of your opponent's defense position monster, inflict the difference as battle damage. It's really just a piercer. I don't know why they draw out the explanation like that. It's a piercing damage. It's 1800 for level 5, which is not great. I honestly don't think I'll see this card too often, but it does have a good secondary effect. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, you discard one card randomly from your opponent's hand. So there's another discard from hand effect, similar to Don Zalug, Forceful Checkpoint, things like that. So if we're seeing the meta be running mimics, running other things where you're looking for flip effects to try and get additional cards with maybe lower defense, then we might see this used. Let's talk about the Dark Mimics. There's a little bit of synergy here also around the Dark Mimic level 1 and level 3, which is coming out in this structure. Dark Mimic level 1 is very straightforward, 100 attack, 1000 defense. The flip is to draw one card. During your standby phase, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard, special summon one Dark Mimic level 3 from your hand or deck. Or deck is what's really good about this, because Dark Mimic level 3 essentially does very similar effects, 1000 attack, 1000 defense. So you're not using these cards to attack, but if Dark Mimic level 3 is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you draw one card. But if the card was special summoned by the effect of level 1, you draw 2 cards instead. So you can see how it synergizes with the card draw there. That also sets up for set cards that may not have a necessary flip effect. So you can see things like Lancer Archfiend come into play and get some piercing damage if you're the opponent and you're trying to beat your opponent down before they draw all these cards from the mimics. Offerings to the Doom is a pretty interesting spell card. I haven't seen that one in a while. It's a quick play spell. Target one face-up monster on the field, destroy that target. That is really straightforward now, isn't it? There's that monster that you're having a hard time beating over. You don't know how the deck is going to do it. There's Offerings to the Doom. The only downside is that you skip your next draw phase. So that's huge in Speed Duel. You need those card resources, but maybe you can play this in a Mimic deck. If you're trying to get the card draw from Mimic, you find your hand's getting a little full. You can afford to skip a draw phase if it means getting that Moth off the field, getting that Oracle off the field, getting that huge boss monster off the field. So Offerings to the Doom should be good. Legendary Fiend, 6-star Fiend monster, 1500 attack, 1800 defense. Sounds really weak and not worth it, right? The effect is during each of your standby phases, this card gains 700 attack. So if you leave it out for one turn, it survives. That jumps all the way up to 2200 attack, which is pretty good for a 6-star monster. However, I can see this card really is supposed to ramp up if you leave it out for 2 or more turns, and I don't know if you're going to be able to keep the monster out that long, to be honest. I'm not sure how viable this one's going to be. Visor Shock, I am specifically excited for. Now, it is a level 5, which is unfortunate. I wish it was level 4, it'd be so broken. But when the card's normal summoned, flip summoned, or special summoned, you return all set cards on the field of their owner's respective hands. So this is essentially, I really like the return to hand effects, obviously being a Dino Kingdom man. Returning sets to hands is a huge, I mean, it's not necessarily a plus because they still have the cards, but it can seriously shift the momentum. You think about somebody that's trying to set the Mimics, Man-Eater, Command Knight, you'll see even Blast Sphere, things like that, all that to go back to hand, it really slows them down and can give you the advantage. So Visor Shock is a 5-star, so you do have to tribute for it, but I think it might be worth it. Hellpoemer, level 5 Fiend, 2000 attack. Okay, so there's a tribute for 2000 attack. That's pretty decent. This card was destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard. This effect activates at the end of each of your opponent's battle phases. Discard one random card for your opponent's hand. So this is probably the 3rd or 4th discard from your opponent's hand effect that we've seen in the format so far, aside from Don Zalug, Forceful Checkpoint, and a couple others. So I like that we're seeing more here. It really just lets your opponent know your hand isn't safe, and they have to think about what they want to do, how often do they want to set, and what do they want to hold on to. Lady Assailant of Flames, I think I'm going to run this fire monster. You don't see a lot of fire monsters. Level 4, 1500 attack. It's a flip effect. Remove 3 cards from the top of your deck from play to inflict 800 points of direct damage to your opponent's life points. This 800 points of direct damage in a Speed Duel may be all you need. Now remove 3 cards from the top of your deck from play. I think that's the first time we've seen removed from play. Obviously we have Mill, and now we're seeing Banished with this structure, but I think removed from play, this is the first card to introduce it. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But like I said, that 800 points of direct damage, that's almost a quarter of your opponent's health. That might be exactly what you need to win a game. So if I'm thinking about constructing a burn deck, I think Lady Assailant of Flames is going to be in there. Nudoria, level 4 Fiend monster. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, target one monster on the field, destroy that target. Okay, so this is a better Yomi ship, guys. We have a better Yomi ship. It's essentially like a Michizuri in a monster, and it's not even a flip effect, so you don't have to worry about flips being negated. Obviously, there are a lot of cards that negate cards that are destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, so you gotta watch out for those. But Nudoria, I could see this being a staple in any annoying deck. It's just a better Yomi ship. Dralago, if the only cards your opponent controls are face-up monsters with 1600 or more attack, this card can attack your opponent directly. This is a 1600 attack, level 4 Dark Machine, so that is nothing to sneeze at. 1600 attack is huge directly, so watch out for that. It looks like tunes aren't the only thing they're going to be able to attack directly here if you are trying to run big beaters. Boganian, I don't even think this is fair. Level 3 Dark Machine, 1300 attack, but you're not really going to use it to attack. Just during each of your standby phases, inflict 600 damage to your opponent. So you're just going to be able to get this out, and if you can keep it out for like 2 turns or 3, it's so worth it. Pretty much going to be a staple in any burn deck. I honestly think the burn decks are going to be things like Boganian, Nightmare Wheel, the Mask of the Accursed, just cards to deflect attacks, and just keep those monsters out. But Boganian's going to work in a burn deck for sure. Let's also talk about Nightmare Wheel. It's essentially Spellbinding Circle and Mask of the Curse. Activate this card by targeting one monster your opponent controls, can't attack or change its battle position. Great, there's Spellbinding Circle right there. During each of your standby phases, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Okay, there's Mask of the Curse right there. So Nightmare Wheel, I don't know why we have 3 cards like this now, but the meta is definitely feels like it's going to shift towards burn. So Nightmare Wheel, Mask of the Curse. Obviously, we can talk about the Boganian, the Lady Assailant of Flames, and then Lava Golem. Lava Golem is going to be, I think it's going to be pretty prevalent I think that a lot of people are just going to tech it in any deck, to be honest. I mean, I did when I played traditional like 8 years ago. It's just you contribute 2 of your opponent's monsters on their side of the field and you give them this 3000 attack monster. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword. The Lava Golem burns them for 1000 life points every standby phase, every one of your standby phases. So that's huge, and 4 turns are dead. But you just gave them a 3000 attack beater, so you gotta be careful. You gotta be able to play around that. Like when I played this in a Watt deck back in 2011, and the goal of the deck was basically just attack directly with the Watt monsters, give them Lava Golem, and then Swords of Revealing Light. But we don't have Swords of the Revealing Light, so I can't just lock all the monsters for 3 turns. But you got Nightmare Wheel, you got Mask of the Accursed, you got Spellbinding Circle, you have all these tools to keep this golem from attacking you, so I think it's gonna be huge. Another burn card here, Coffin Seller. This is a continuous trap. Each time a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard, inflict 300 damage to your opponent. So 300 damage is a little more minor, and I'm not sure, honestly, if this is going to be a trap that's going to be run in burn decks, because it does take up a slot for only maybe 300 damage to your opponent. Maybe it'll get to 600, maybe 900, but you really need all 3 slots when you're trying to deflect attacks and do all the things that Burn's trying to do, so we'll see if this is going to be a set here. And then Metal Reflect Slime. This is another continuous trap. Special summon this card in defense position as an effect monster, Aqua type, 3000 defense. The card can attack. There's your wall to just continue to burn down your opponent, and they have to try and beat over this Metal Reflect Slime, 3000. There are only a few cards out there that can beat over that your opponent may be able to get out pretty consistently. And then last card I want to mention that I believe we're going to see a lot is Santa Claus. This is the light level 6 Fiend monster. 1200 attack but 2500 defense. This is another one similar to Lava Golem, where you're basically playing around with your opponent's field. You can special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field in defense position by attributing one monster they control. So bye-bye, Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. Here's Santa Claus. If summoned this way, once during the end phase of this turn, you can draw 1 card. So you're giving them a 1200 attack monster and you get to draw from it. And you get rid of a huge monster that they control. So this is a no-brainer. This and Lava Golem, and I think that a lot of this is just going to destroy the meta right now and completely rebuild it. So we'll see, but Santa Claus is not that strong. Your opponent may use it just to kind of put up a wall. I mean, 2500 defense is pretty big, but if you're running something annoying like this, you're most likely trying to burn them down anyway, so you shouldn't be in too much trouble there. And that's all the cards that I found to be really interesting and jumping out at me here looking at the card list for Twisted Nightmares that's set to come out here this coming week alongside with Match of Millennium. We do know what the Match of Millennium cards are before, and I've used those a little bit and played around with them, but I'm really, really excited to play around with Twisted Nightmares. I think that this structure deck is so much better than Match of Millennium, to be honest. Like, Tunes are going to be fun, Thousand Eyes Restrict will be fun, but I really think that we're going to see this Fiend burn meta kind of come out of the woodwork here, so really excited for that. The full card list is in the description below as well. There were many that I didn't mention. There were some reprints, some cards that, there were a lot of normal Dark Fiends, normal Dark Machines. There were some also effect monsters that I skipped over. I didn't think they were going to be that impressive, but guys, if you think so, please let me know. And if you guys like this video, please feel free to hit the like button as I plan to get more stuff out to you guys. I hope to see you guys playing these new decks soon, and I'll catch you later. See ya.